Next session. The session is Ammunition and Armament Roadmap. I request all of you, ladies and gentlemen, those who are standing at the back, I request all of you to please settle down. If you have done the kiosk visits, which I hope you have during lunch, and you will get many more opportunities through the course of the day, request you to please settle down. We're about to start the post-lunch session of the India Defence Conclave. The second knowledge session is about to begin, ladies and gentlemen, requesting all of you to please settle down. So, this session is Ammunition and Armament Roadmap. Quickly, the key points that this session is going to cover. Without an indigenous, assured and reliable ammunition supply line, no weapon platform is useful. How can India overcome the shortcoming? Is Indian industry gearing up to equip the military with the required ammunition? These are going to be the essential talking points. I will request the panelists to please come up on stage one by one as I announce your names, and your profiles will be flashed on the screen for the others to see. And thereafter, I will call General Aujla to come up and deliver the keynote address for this session. May I request Dr. Manjeet Singh, Director, Economic Explosives Limited, to please come up on stage. Can I have a round of applause for him, please? Thank you. May I request Mr. Ashish Kansal, Director, SMPP, to please come up on stage. Air Marshal S.B. Deo, retired, Founder and CMD, JSR Dynamics, on stage. The moderator of this session, Rear Admiral Sanjay Mishra, retired, Armament Specialist and Strategic Analyst, on stage. A round of applause for him, please. He's going to be moderating this session. And to kick off the session, the keynote address for the session by Lieutenant General Amardeep Singh Aujla, Master General Sustenance, Indian Army. Can I have a round of applause? I request General Aujla to please come up and deliver the keynote address. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Lieutenant General Amardeep Singh Aujla, the Master General of Sustenance for the Indian Army, entrusted with a singular responsibility, and that is of keeping the force battle-worthy at all times, war or peace. At the outset, let me express my gratitude to Mr. Nitin and his entire team for firstly putting up this grand strategic show, so the 9th edition of India Defence Conclave, and secondly for providing me this opportunity to put forth the ammunition perspective as it pertains to the Indian Army. So the next about 15 minutes, I'll try and put across as to what is the actual framework of the Indian Army's ammunition perspective. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we can all see as to how the contours of, the wars are increasingly becoming more and more intense and complex in nature. And they are getting shaped by the technological innovations, by the, the changing geopolitical or the evolving geopolitical dynamics. And of course, with that comes the changing nature of war fighting or the war fighting practices. Now, Indian Army as such, based on this kind of a background, is also proactively addressing all the multifaceted challenges related to the future wars through a very comprehensive modernization program, through integrating technology, and by embarking on a journey of strategic preparedness. Our prime focus, ladies and gentlemen, today is on certain very key aspects And these key aspects are, focus on the hybrid and the asymmetric warfare, the cyber and the information operations, focus on space capabilities, the missile defense, the aerial platforms, and many more of these types to ensure that we are able to, navigate and evolve through this new conundrum or the new contours of war fighting that is coming about in a very, very holistic kind of a manner. And in all of this, as I talk, ammunition automatically forms a very, very crucial and becomes the cornerstone in defining our war-waging potential, capacities, and the capabilities. And this is more pertinent when we talk about this kind of a capability in defining our, or ensuring or safeguarding our national interests, the significance related to the strategic dominance, ensuring that we remain operationally prepared and ready at all times, and providing the necessary capacity and capability to achieve our long-term strategic goals. But before I come to the essence or the focus area of this particular session, that is the ammunition roadmap, let me spend a few minutes on giving you those key aspects, which define our ammunition sensitivities and our requirements. And at the top of the pecking order, automatically comes the threats. Now, the threats for which we have to train and for which we have to remain prepared at all times, 24/7. And these threats are in the conventional domain along the northern and the western borders. We've got threats in the sub-conventional domain that is related to the counter-insurgency and the counter-terrorist operations. We've got threats in the law and order domain related to, the physical part. And we've got threats related to out-of-area contingencies, inclusive of our UN commitments and responsibilities. Now, when you dovetail this with the geography of the country, we have a multispectral deployment to go about. And this is, starts from the glaciated areas in the north to the high altitude mountains, the jungles, the riverine areas, the plains, the built-up areas, the deserts, and the amphibious. And why I'm highlighting this particular point is because each and every sector, each and every terrain or the topography demands a different set of ammunition. The ammunition that is required in the glaciated areas is not fully that is required in the deserts. And likewise, what is required in the deserts is not totally what is required in the jungles. And likewise, the number of combinations. So what are we looking at? We are looking at tailor-made solutions. We are looking at customized solutions. And that is the key for us. So when we talk about these two factors, that is the threat or the threats and the deployment pattern of ours, there are certain systemic issues which come about. There are certain systemic challenges which come about, which we have to face on a daily basis. And these systemic challenges are in terms of a very diverse ammunition inventory that we have to maintain. There are huge transportation, distribution, stocking, and maintenance costs that are incurred. There are issues related to the shelf life and the turnover management of ammunition, and the traditional stocking at multiple levels of ammunition that has to go about because of the terrain and the geography and the undeveloped lines of communication that also come about. And alongside these are the two quantitative issues, one related to the stocks that we have to maintain for the Pan Army to cater for any eventuality. And the second part is related to the training requirements. To support and to train a 12 lakh strong army requires a humongous amount of ammunition, humongous amount of variants of ammunition, and of course it costs a huge sum of money. So if this is the background, the automatic question that pops up is that what are we looking at? What are the needs of the Indian Army as far as ammunition is concerned? So for us, ladies and gentlemen, the most important part is, or the requirement is, to have very smart and intelligent ammunition solutions which are tailor-made to suit our operational requirements. And these are required on two counts. First is to give us a credible kind of a deterrence, and the second is to afford us and give us an operational preparedness and readiness at all times. So when we look at as to what are the ammunition needs of the Indian Army, or what are the future perspectives related to ammunition, I think they can best be understood in the context of our operational requirements, our evolving threats, our modernization efforts, and the strategic goals that need to be achieved. So with this as the background, we have a few challenges as well. And when I talk about these challenges are in the operational and the strategic realm. And the first one is the self-reliance or the indigenization. Today, we've got 175 different variants of ammunition on our inventory. Out of these 175, 154 are currently indigenized. And out of these 154, 128 are 100% indigenized, and the balance 26 is where certain ex-import components are being utilized. The challenges for the balance 21. Out of these 21, 12 are under the trial stages. So that leaves me with just 9 different variants of ammunition, out of which 7 are related to our aerial assets. This is where the Air Force is the lead agency, and we have made substantial progress there as well. It's only 2 sets of ammunition where the economic order quantities are pretty less at this point of time, as also the stocks that we hold are in good numbers with us. So not a major challenge, but just to assure the audience that they are also certainly on the drawing board. So this is where the current status of the ammunition is. We have to ensure that all 175 in due course of time, they become indigenized, and we are able to provide indigenous solutions and become self-reliant in each and every way. The second important facet is in terms of our production capacities. There's a huge gap between what is stated and what is actually achieved on ground. And this is a sore point which needs to be covered, and covered very, very quickly. The third aspect is related to our quality control. We've suffered large number of casualties, both in terms of our men, as also losses in terms of our equipment, when it comes to quality related to ammunition is concerned. And this is where we want indulgences, we want investments from every manufacturer, whether it's a DPSU or it's a private partner, to ensure that we get the very best of ammunition which is supplied to the armed forces. The fourth aspect is related to the modernization and infrastructure development related to our DPSUs and the quality assurance people. This is what requires an urgent upgradation, so that not only do we get the very best, we are also accommodative, we are also competitive, and we are also supportive in our quality assurance approach towards our private industrial partners. At this point of time, it's a challenge. And the last part is related to the supply chains and the logistics. I'll talk about it a little later as we go along. Now, if these are the challenges, there are certain strategic goals also for us. And that is where I come to the topic proper. That is, what is the ammunition roadmap as far as the Indian Army is concerned. And when we talk about this roadmap, there are strategic goals that we have set for ourselves. And ladies and gentlemen, the very first one is to become self-reliant. And of the 175 different variants that I talked about, we want that 166, where we have already touched base with, we should be 100% indigenized by the end of next year. That is end of 2025. For the balance 9, we are looking at, that is the entire range of 175, to be fully indigenized by the year 2030. We are also looking at that by year 2030, not only should we be 100% indigenized, but we should also have minimum 3 manufacturers of the same variant of ammunition for us. So that will not only enhance our capacities, that will give us the surge capability that is required today. And when I talk about the surge capability, that's the second point. We are looking at that by 2030, we should have a capability where 1 day of intense rate of war-fighting ammunition should be produced within the country. It's a tall order, but it's certainly doable. We have the capacities, we have the capabilities, we have the aptitude, and I'm sure a combination and a convergence between the private partners and the DPSUs will make it happen by 2030, or maybe even before that. The third aspect is related to interoperability, and that is where we are looking at standardization of ammunition between every user, every agency, every coalition, every ally, not only for joint exercises, for joint training, but even if required during operations. The fourth aspect is related to, the logistics or the supply chain that I was talking about. And this is where we want to give it an industrial orientation. And when I say industrial orientation, I mean adopting the innovative methods. We have to absorb technology, and we are looking at it, whether it is AI, whether it is machine learning, whether it is technology, blockchain technology, whether it is predictive analysis, whether it is Internet of Things, whether it is digitization or robotics. You name a thing today and it's available. It is only to be absorbed and converged into the needs of us. And that is a challenge, and this is where that is how it forms part of our strategic goals. We have to focus on the core and outsource the non-core. We have to remain aligned with the national logistic policies of the country. We have to align ourselves with the best practices which have been initiated by the government, whether it is Gati Shakti, whether it is Bharat Mala, Sagar Mala, Parvat Mala, and likewise. And we have to be on board when it comes to the infrastructure development related to logistics is concerned, whether it is the logistic parks, whether it is container depots, whether it is anything related to logistics is concerned. And we have to ensure that the two defense industrial corridors, which the government has brought about, one in the state of Tamil Nadu and the other one in the state of Uttar Pradesh, they become a huge success, because this is where the future defense industry is going to come up. And this is where my supply chain will commence its journey from. So these are certain strategic goals that we are looking at. And when I say that, and when I look back and see that if we have formulated these strategic goals, how do we actually translate them into practice? How do we give them shape? How do they manifest in the proper fashion that we are looking at? And this is where, two verticals come into play, and the convergence is the most important part. And these two verticals, when I talk about, the first vertical is related to the research and development, accompanied by the technologies, the new generation ammunition technologies. And to give it the actual shape is where the manufacturers will come into play. That is the combination of the DPSUs and the private manufacturers of ammunition. So talking first about the R&D and the new technologies, when I talk about the R&D, it is actually the backbone of any system or any business. So for us, R&D is supposed to provide us innovations and advancements in terms of our performance, in terms of safety, in terms of cost, in terms of technology, in terms of efficiency, in terms of production, in terms of reliability, just to name a few. We are looking at R&D for giving us those customized solutions. We are looking at R&D to give us solutions to integrate the new generation ammunition with the new generation weapons that we are holding, or the weapon and the equipments that we are holding. We are looking at R&D for testing and prototyping. We are looking at R&D to help us formulate those, regulatory compliance matrices. So it's a huge role that R&D has to play. And when we look at the new generation technologies in ammunition, again, sky's the limit. Today, the ammunition has revolutionized the modern warfare or the war fighting. And we are also following certain trends very, very closely in the Indian Army. Many have come our way, some more are in the pipeline. And a few more are still being desired. And when I talk about these new technologies, they are in terms of, the precision-guided munitions, the directed energy weapons, the smart ammunition with advanced electronics, the networked ammunition, the ammunition with programmable fuses, ammunition with enhanced propulsion systems, the electromagnetic railgun systems, the hybrid energy kinetic rounds, the non-lethal weapon systems, the green energy or the sustainable weapon systems, ammunitions. And apart from that is the manufacturing part. The best of the manufacturing material is today available. in terms of whether it is nano, whether it is composite, whether it is meta, whether it is 3D printing or it is the additive manufacturing, we all have to, absorb them within the system to get the very best. So having seen this vertical, the next particular point to give it shape is where the industry comes into play, or where our DPSUs come into play. And this is where there are huge expectations of the Indian Army towards both these verticals. And in times to come, I think in the convergent manner that we are progressing, many things will fall in the rightful place in quick time. And when we talk about this kind of a convergence, we are looking at wider participation. Today, I'm very happy to announce that there are more than 20 private partners who are associated with us in production of manufacturing of ammunition. And they are the very best in the market. And the type of products that they have given us has been absolutely phenomenal. It is just a little push, a little nudge, a little direction, a little confidence building, and I think we can scale what we've set out for ourselves. So this is where we are. We are looking at R&D. We are looking at, giving us good solutions in terms of the ammunition. We are looking at cutting down on costs. We are looking at giving us those quality assurances. We are looking at giving us training. We are looking at giving us logistic solutions. So gentlemen, while much can be said, and I can keep talking till cows come home, but due to constraints of time, I'll try and conclude by saying that today the ammunition landscape is changing, and changing very rapidly and radically. And that's the reason why the Indian Army has also changed its goalpost, and we've gone away from the captive sourcing to a very competitive and participative tendering. What is required is the convergence of each and every player. And what is non-negotiable are three primary factors which I propagate at every level. And these primary factors are the quality, the adherence to timelines, and the competitiveness in price. But at the end of the day, since it has to be a public-private partnership which has to show results, I think there are four factors which emerge and which have to be kept in mind by everyone, inclusive of the people in uniform. And the first one is trust and faith. The second aspect is, the sincerity of purpose on the journey that we've embarked. The third aspect is related to building of partnerships. And the fourth aspect is related to knowing and trusting each other's capabilities and limitations. I think if we go about in a convergent kind of a manner, there are many things which have to be achieved. Many things have already been done, but there is still a long distance to be covered. And we want that in the next couple of years, India becomes a major global ammunition manufacturing hub for the entire world. If not for the country, if not for the defense forces, certainly for the entire world. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much for that keynote address, General Ojla. He has joined us back in the audience, and now I hand over the session to the moderator, Rear Admiral Sanjay Mishra. Thank you.
Am I audible? Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. After a very lucid and elaborate exposition by the MGS, and earlier in the day, when I was hearing the DSIT's PP&FT, one thing is very clear. We all know where we have to reach. The point is, have we done an introspection to find out where we are today? Because that's important to identify the strategic gap that needs to be bridged and the strategy that we need to take to bridge that strategic gap. Contemporary times, you have the Russia-Ukraine war, you have the Gaza conflict. Many lessons have come up. One thing which is actually staring us in our face, and we need to look at, is differentiate between a niche technology and an exotic technology. That's a new word that I'm probably coining today. Because most of the so-called exotic technologies have failed to deliver the kind of punch that should have been there. I was talking to the foreign minister of Ukraine the other day, and he gave me real-time experiences as to how the battle is moving on. Get back to those 1,000 rockets made out of spun pipes that Hamas had launched on Israel. It kind of saturated the sky dome. So when we're looking at one thing, yes, one thing that's very for sure is that we need to have sustained supply chains. I'm picking up the word sustenance from the MGS, because sustenance is very important, and sustenance of supply chains. Now, there were two strategies, to start with for countries like us. One was undertaking ab initio or de novo development. That's you start from scratch. The second one was that you acquired something, you absorbed the technology, and then you advanced on the technology. But there is a fourth dimension that's now coming, and that's agility. How agile you are to adapt to the changing circumstances. And when we look at that, I think many things will have to change from the way things are moving in presently. You may not have that much of time, that luxury, for doing so many kinds of type approvals, etc., etc. You will need to be fast, understand what the problem is, and thereafter go forward. I was watching this movie 1983 yesterday, and there I remember Man Singh, the manager, telling Kapil Dev that you go and pep up the team. So Kapil Dev stands up and says, 7 of them are my seniors. What do I do to pep them up? I find myself in a very similar dilemma. I've got Air Marshal Deb sir, under who's kind of been my ideal. Got Dr. Manjeet Singh sir, and a very bright and young entrepreneur, Dr. Ashish Kansal. So I wouldn't take much time, but I would, incidentally, when I was in the Navy, we've talked recently a lot about this Rumi rocket, the hybrid rocket. Now, when Air Marshal sir was there, he had come with this proposal to the Navy, this about, I think, 5 years ago, saying that he was ready to build a hybrid rocket, but we didn't accept it at that point in time. So, sir, what kind of an ecosystem, in your view, should we have where we can nurture these technologies and so that we are world class?
Hello. So, we are world class. There should be no doubt. Okay. I'm not an engineer by training. I'm a fighter pilot, so I'm never in doubt. Often wrong, but never in doubt. So I have no doubts that you're world class. Okay. We don't need nothing from nobody. Okay. And but yes, in order to come to a particular level of preparedness for war, we had to take help from many. You want a fighter engine. Take a long time before you develop a fighter engine. You need to, you need to get that technology. You need to be friends with people who will help you get there. Okay. Similarly, for many platforms and many technologies that are there, you want to Navy wants to get a electromagnetic launcher. Okay, the way it is there on the other carrier. It's difficult to develop it yourself for some time. Okay, and the second thing is that as a country, we are very law-abiding. We are not like China. Okay, China would go to any lengths, okay, to get that technology here. They will bribe people. They will get that stuff there, open it straight away, and start reverse engineering it. Okay, we are not like that. Okay, we are not built like that. Okay, so it's not in our DNA. So that sort of slows us down too. Okay, there's a flip side. But I think the kind of standing that we have in the world, that is, whatever technology that we get, it's through a dint of hard work and also having a very clear understanding of the person who's transferring that technology. So by and large, the things that we build are far more robust and they deliver, unlike what China builds. That is one thing. And if you ask me what is required in this ecosystem today, it'll become very difficult for me with a straight push to say the government must do this, the government must do that. Okay, government has done all that it could. Okay, I don't have any experience. I didn't have any experience with the army. Just a week back, we had General Chaudhary with us. Okay, and I found army is also very smart and very quick, of the chops. What I found with Navy particularly was that the kind of hand-holding that Navy does, okay, and the kind of facilities and the processes that Navy has, our Navy has, you come to DGNI, that to my mind is one organization that Army should have and the Air Force too should have. Okay, with DGNI, with the Navy, they can assure you things, they can get things done on a given timeline, which is very difficult for the Army and for the Air Force too. Okay, because there are many other agencies are involved. What I find as an entrepreneur for the last 6 years is that it is our industry, okay, that has to wake up. I'll give you my example. We have a contract, we have multiple contracts with multiple armed forces and even export contracts too for precision guided munitions, glide weapons and lightweight cruise missiles. And Navy calls it long range precision powered missile. Okay. When I look around for subsystems from Indian vendors, okay, the Indian vendors first ask me, how much are you selling it for? They calculate my margins and then they make sure that my margin comes down to 10%. Okay, that is not the way to do business. You have an inertial navigation system to sell, I want to buy it from you. Just sell it to me at the cost that you feel is fair. Don't calculate my margins. Okay. We went to a PSU and we told them that we need a particular kind of aluminum from them. The cost, you won't believe, was 3 times that it took to import me from Korea. Whose response? How will our industry grow if you want to, cut each other's feet? Then the issue of IP. Okay, my company survives because of its IP. We have simulation centers. We have bright minds who think of new projects, who think of new designs, and every organization that we go to, whether it is required or not, they want our design documents. Why should somebody who is giving me a pyro need my design documents? Okay. So protection of IP and quoting a fair price, okay, that is very important. This is our Indian vendors must learn. Okay. If for quite some time, even when I was serving, it used to be said, as long as that thing is Indian, I don't mind. I will accept 80% performance and I will accept 30% more price. Why? Now that I have been an entrepreneur for 6 years, I can tell you that if you get a bomb if you get a glide bomb or you get a JSOW from USA for what, $800,000, okay, JSOW C, okay, I can build the same thing for 1/3 the cost and I will sell it to you for 30% margin, profit margin. So if that is the attitude that I have, okay, that is the kind of attitude that every industrialist, every entrepreneur must have, that this is going to my government. I can't rip off my own government. I will, if I want to compete with somebody, go outside and compete. But when it comes to serving your own country, you can't charge the way you would charge some other country. And that's what happens in USA, that's what happens in UK. All of the countries do that. So if a local guy is developing something and he has to source his equipment, in order to meet the IDDM requirements from, Indian subsystem suppliers, it's really not economical because those people want margins like 300%, 400%. So the industry has to learn first. Government is doing all that it can. The services are doing all that it can. Okay, we have to learn to support each other and not be unreasoned when it comes to delivery. Okay, delivery is haphazard, the quality is not as it should be. Okay, so my cribs are not, for the government, my cribs are not against the processes in the ministry. Yes, they require some streamlining. I'm sure they will be streamlined. Okay, but my big crib as an entrepreneur is against my colleagues. Okay, who, for some reason, they feel that if he's an Indian, then I must squeeze him for all his work. And the same guy, okay, when he sells it to Israel, okay, he will sell it 1/3 the cost. So we are in such an awkward situation that we had to buy something from Israel that is made in India. Because that Indian vendor, when he wants to sell it to me, he has quoted an exorbitant price. Okay. So for indigenization and for this current ecosystem, I feel that the ball is in our court, where industrialists, entrepreneurs, vendors, subsystem developers, okay, that we have to price our equipment in a manner that it becomes competitive. Okay, and one should calculate what margins, what money the other guy is making. You don't understand what his expenses.
You made some very pertinent points up. The two things that come out, one is the pricing part, and the other thing is protecting IPs. Now, when you look at protecting IPs, basically what you're saying is, if this is a product that I've developed, the same thing should not come through somebody else. Yeah. So when we get to that, and the MGS was just now saying that they would require minimum 3 vendors for any particular sub-classification of ammunition. Now, Dr. Manjeet Singh sir, you in the company which I think, as far as explosives is concerned, is a pioneer and a leader in making ammunition. What are your views on, firstly, how can we cut down the timelines? Because when you get to the forces, time is of importance. A product, if not delivered today, you come up with it tomorrow, it may be of hardly any use. So one is timelines, and other thing is what Air Marshal sir said about IPs. What, in your opinion, should be the methodology to protect IPs of companies, especially when they are the ones who've taken lead, taken their own capital, manufactured something, and if they find that somebody else comes and steals, I shouldn't use that word steal, but imitates that product and then says, I'm going to come up with it at a cheaper price.
Thank you, Rear Admiral Mishra ji. Thanks to the organizer, Mr. Gokhale, for giving me an opportunity to be part of a Defense Enclave. And thanks to Chairman of Solar Group, Mr. Satyanarayan Noel, who is here, to allow me to speak on behalf of solar industries. So, as we all are aware that this sector of ammunition and armament was traditionally been dominated by government-run entities, maybe DRDO, maybe Ordnance Factory, maybe DPSUs, with a limited participation by private industries. However, because of the tremendous efforts by the government, this sector is being opened up to now private industry, and private industry has come a big way with a positive mindset to cash on this opportunity. Now, being associated with private industry, ammunition industry, there are certain ground realities which I want to share with you, which are basically hurdles, even to be self-reliant in traditional ammunition. When I say traditional ammunition, it is basically samama ammunition, artillery ammunition, grenades, 23 millimeter ammunition, 30 millimeter ammunitions. You leave around lighter ammunitions. General Ojala has brought out the roadmap for ammunition, the ammunition which are very agile, very precise, with the tailored lethality, with the minimum collateral damage, integrated with artificial intelligence for decision making, and the ammunition which harvest and regenerate energy while in the flights. This has where to reach, but there are ground situation even which prohibit any private industry to be self-reliant in the basic ammunition also. Now, first thing what I want to bring to this audience is availability of expertise. This is area of ammunition armament where the expertise is. That doesn't mean that expertise doesn't exist in the country. It is there, but it resides with the, again, government institutions, DRDO, DPSUs, Ordnance Factory, and you believe me, no one wants to leave the comforts of a government job to join a private industry, even you offer the hefty pay packages. So what is hiring a fresh engineering graduate and giving a training in explosives, ammunition, a long drawn process? Dividend will come, but it will take some time. So ultimately, private industry is relying on people who are superannuated from DRDO, from armed forces, from quality agencies, DGQA, DJNI, and like. So the expert manpower, the availability of adequate expert manpower is the first issue which industry is facing. Second is the availability of materials. Now, availability of a good quality metallic materials like armored steel, ultra pure, copper, tungsten, molybdenum. So, if at all these materials are available within the country, the metallurgical skills to tailor the mechanical properties of these materials to best suit the ammunition requirement is missing. Few of the past incidents wherein a faulty rounds bursting in the barrel, which led to ultimately discontinuation of 23 millimeter and 40 millimeter ammunition. These are only because of some sort of a quality issues during manufacturing, and mainly there was a board who constituted, say there was a material issues, material which was used was not of right quality. So it is not only the materials, sometimes availability of chemical also. Chemical means explosive propellant. Within our countries, believe me, all type of explosives and propellants are available, but they are available with DPSU. There is no guarantee that this will be given to a private industry when situation arises. I want to quote an example, ATAL smoke grenade. Solar developed under technology transfer of DRDO. After transfer of technology, a production order given to Solar for manufacturing 60,000 numbers of a 60% L1 node. Now each grenade needs 1.5 gram of a single base propellant, pyroxylene. And to execute the total order, I need 100 kg of a single base propellant. From the last 10 months, I have tried my best. Ordnance Factory Bhandara has not given me that material. So my production, in spite of spending so much money in technology transfer, qualification, DGQ evaluation trial, user evaluation trial at plane, at high altitude, in their trials, DRDO supported, but once you are got the production order, then private industry is left at their own to manage that material. So this is one issue. What is required is synergy between a DPSUs and a private industries, and in that way, between the private industries also. Sometimes it is seen that one private industry has made a lead system integrator, and he is not getting the support from other private industries who are supposed to provide component to the subsystem to the lead system integration. So that delays the acquisition. Third point which I have noticed is sustenance, ensuring of production capacity for a long time. Again, I will quote one example with due regard to General Oja, sir. We delivered 10 lakhs grenade, and the last consignment of the grenades was in April 2023. Over the last 1.5 years, I am maintaining the infrastructure, I am retaining our expert manpower in anticipation of another order, because I am aware Indian Army needs a few lakhs of grenade more. And only the last week, RFP of another 8 lakhs grenade has come. So before the production starts, there will be another 3 to 4 months. So my issue is idling cost of almost 2 years in retaining that manpower and in maintaining that production infrastructure, where it will go. Private industry won't be allowed to hike the prices because there is a last selling price available. So private industry has to absorb that loss. So it is not about the solar. Solar maybe a big company can absorb, but think of the level 2 supplier who used to supply the metal component, who used to supply the rubber components. It is very difficult for them to retain all the production infrastructure and the manpower. So what will happen, even with the best intentions of the private industry, because of the long processing time, this manufacturing of ammunition become financially unviable, although it is getting done, but these are certain issues of idling time which nowhere comes. One more, Mishra ji, just 2 more minutes I'll take, is that Make 2 under IDDM, a very good scheme, excellent scheme, but issue here is based on the suo motu proposal by any private industry or from the date RFI has been generated, it takes almost 1.5 years to 2 years to get a PSO. I understand this is an involved process, so many approvals are there, but still this timeline can be cut. Another issue is once PSO is given, this PSO is given to multiple agencies. That multiple agencies, some are serious, who has the capacity, who have the capability, some just for the sake of getting PSO, they have applied and based on the technical evaluation, they have got the PSO. Industry who has submitted proposal, who is spending out of their own pocket, judicially working on the system, develops, qualify the system, but many others, they go on asking for a PTC extension and it becomes a never-ending story. So the proposal which came from original somebody, who he's not getting the dividends what he's supposed to get. So my request to General Mann is that there is a requirement of a physical verification of the capability and capacity of the firm by visiting the premises of the firm rather than taking a call based on a technical proposal. So these are some of the issues which are there and which a ammunition industry is facing, so that the acquisition or production getting delayed. Second part was, should I have time or? So, second part was R&D. Now, research and development in private industry, it is already started, but again, as I said, it has been started by forming a nucleus of the people who are drawn from the production infrastructure, or people who have been hired, or people who have been superannuated, they are working like a consultant or a guidance. But like I'll say solar industries, we only added one area, is the loiter munitions. Okay. And loiter munition, not that somebody gave us any project, we took our own. So loiter munition, we showed to the user was very happy. He gave us order in emergency purchase. We were only in R&D phase. So we followed the process of concurrent engineering, wherein research, development, testing and production went concurrently. And today I'll speak that within 16 months of time, we have delivered 50% of the ammunition, lighter ammunition, and 25% yesterday got cleared through PDI, only 25% are remaining. So there are higher variants. Thanks to IDEX project, which was sanctioned by General Mann, ADB, to one of the startup through which our industry get into this and we got an opportunity to develop. Now coming to IP right of this particular thing, since this is our own project, so IP rights are lying with us for make two projects. I will suggest that rather than having total 100% IP rights with the services who are basically a fund provider, there should be a joint IP right with the industry also who is doing so much efforts, plus of course ADB who is providing the resources or providing the funds. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. You've actually raised again some very pertinent points. One is, which we actually need to see when we are looking at capacities that are available within the country. One has to look, as they say, the strength of the chain is in the weakest link. So if some particular component is not coming from somewhere, the fact remains that whether you call it a hand grenade or you call a 30 mm round or whatever that may be, you don't have it. So when we're looking at capacities, we are not only looking at capacities of assembling the final product, but making the product right through from the very basic stages. Coming to surge capacities, now Ashish Kansalji is the director of SMPP, and I just learned that he's going in a big way, investing into making of 155 ammunition, as well as propellants and high explosives. So how do you figure this out? I mean, when we're looking at surge capacities, and with so many people getting into this, today there is a huge demand of 155. I acknowledge that. But in times to come, this demand may or may not be there. Taking cue from what Dr. Manjeet Singh said, that their facilities have been lying idle, and the capex, the interest on the capex is also something which needs to be looked at. So how do you think are we going to work out with these surge capacities, so to speak?
Good afternoon to everyone. See, if you look at the world wars today, as General Aujla rightly pointed, we need these surge capacities. It is not a choice. The wars are long-drawn wars. The concept of maintaining stock for 10i, 40i, it's gone. Today, the world is staring at long-drawn wars where unless you have surge capacities, unless you have in-house capacities within your country to produce these ammunitions and sustain yourself in the war, it's highly unlikely that you will survive a war. So, any country today will have to have its own manufacturing base, and that manufacturing base will also have to have its own surge capacity. So, it will be for the industry to sort of manage its costs in a manner that there is certain nominal capacity, and then there is a way to get it to a surge level as and when, God forbid, the need arises. And this is also act as a deterrent for our adversaries who and the world is well informed today. So the adversary also knows very well the capabilities of an industry existing in another country as to what is their real capability and capacity. So it is for the industry to make sure that it develops. And then talking about idle capacities, we as an industry have also been faced with similar situations. We delivered one of the largest orders for ballistic jackets, and then we were left with a similar situation that, all right, we're producing 10,000 a month, but now what do we do now? World is the market. You have to get down to the world. You have to make sure that you are not dependent on just the Indian market, but the global market. And then you have to make sure that you are developing products which then propel the user to come to you for more orders. Without that R&D taking place, without that advancement taking place, today you cannot just sit and expect Aujla sir to keep sending orders your way. You will have to make sure that you push him to that level that the Indian Army says, all right, you now have a better product, I need this as well.
I admire the positive this thing, and probably that's the way to go, that we need to be looking at the glass 2/3 full and not 1/3 empty. One last question to all the three panelists, and I would request you to keep it short. That is that, anything, one is that you come up to a level and you make a product. Other thing is that you add that X factor, or should I call it that A plus category, where, like our Prime Minister said, that you design in India, not only make in India. Now, when you get to that A plus, you need to have that expertise to understand what it is and what is the mechanics behind that particular thing that you're going to improve upon, so that, and what's the scope for you to improve upon that particular thing. So starting from Dr. Manjeet Singh sir, how do you think that we should go around improving on what we are making? And what should be the timeline? Getting back to what DSIDS said earlier in the day, that we should not be satisfied with what we have. There should be an urge, as they say, dil mange more.
No, we have been told, we have been educated about the spiral development, that you develop one thing, let it go into production, improve upon what we have developed. So that methodology or that model of a product improvement is already there. Now, following that also, it's not only that you will go immediately to futuristic technology. You need some sort of out-of-box thinking. If I follow a product spiral development, step by step, go on improving the product which have been made, it may take more time. I may not be able to catch up the latest trends. However, thinking out of the box, going altogether a new technology can give me a lead to develop something which is not there. Sometimes I have been governed by the things which is happening around me. I can't think beyond that. ये ऐसा है, इसके अंदर ये डालते हैं, इसके अंदर ये करते हैं. Some more better explosive, some more range, some more lethality, maybe precision more. So I can think about these lines only, because I can't think out of that sort. So what is needed is, if suppose you want to lead in the frontier of technology, there is a need for an out-of-box solution, not that continuously improving upon what I have made. So to work on that, one good thing very recently has happened, what you have said, just like very recently, there were RFP of 23 millimeter, 30 millimeter and 40 millimeter, wherein a requirement projection of next 10 years has been projected. This is what a private industry needs, a long-term business potential, so that they can invest accordingly in the manufacturing infrastructure, they can invest the way they are hiring the manpower and creating test facilities. So this type of a model, wherein a projections for a longer duration, you can sustain all manpower. What was the issue I highlighted in the case of hand grenade, that won't be there now in 23 millimeter and 40 millimeter ammunition. So in ammunition industry, we are following spiral development, but what you are hinting is something which has to be a different model has to be followed, not a spiral development.
So what you're saying is you have to jump from one S-curve to the other S-curve.
There were some sort of a
Sir,
model which...
I'll have the next speaker to... so how do you think we should improve upon products? You are pioneers in bullet-proof jackets.
See, let's see how the world does it. Today we have the Lockheeds here, we have the BAEs here. They work jointly, global partnerships. That's the way we need to look at when we are sitting in India. We need to look at global partnerships. We don't wish to import, but we can always work jointly. If the company on the other side sees value in your R&D, in your research capabilities, in your developmental capabilities, they would definitely work with you to develop products jointly. And India has an advantage. We have a huge market. India is a huge market. So that's an incentive for a company sitting outside India to work jointly with you. So you will have to formulate global partnerships. You have to work with global mindsets and develop products jointly. You cannot sit in your own shell and keep working alone.
Thank you. Final words to you, sir.
So as far as developing products which have IP here, Okay, that is our company's first objective. All our product IP we hold. We don't need nobody. We don't need assistance from anybody to develop the products that we are developing. Okay. In fact, we are at such a stage that foreign countries are coming to us. There was assistance to develop products for them. Okay, that is where we are. And I'm sure I'm not the only company that is doing this. There are many companies that have this capability. What I would like to suggest is that first and foremost, the focus should be on IP. Who holds the IP? We must all learn from the iPhone that all of us carry. IP is held by, Apple. Okay, there's a whole lot of Chinese people are making some stuff and then putting it together. The software comes, you load the software, and the phone is it's selling like hotcakes. So IP must be held with us. The ministry and the services also must underscore this, issue that product that you're making. Do you have a JV with somebody? I think General Mann mentioned this point. Okay, because when I got a call from Army, the first thing that they asked is, do you have JV with anybody? So I told him, no, we don't have JV with anybody. We didn't know which way it will go till the time General Mann clarified. So IP has to be totally with you. And once the IP is totally with you, there are so many things you can do. Today I'm using a particular initial encryption system. Tomorrow, an Indian chap comes up, he says, I have an initial encryption system that is better and cheaper. Okay, I'll take it from him and just put it in. I can do that because IP is mine. Okay, so focus on IP is extremely important. Do these JVs and, importing technologies and this thing. I personally feel, okay, as a last resort. And when you have an assured market where this will sell, okay, fine. Okay, but when you're serving your country, making something for your country, JVs and importing technology, relying on other technology, that should be the last resort. Okay, that's my view.
Thank you, sirs. I think we've had a very interesting session. It's a very complex topic, and I'm certain that everybody's got his own views. The whole purpose is to understand the dynamics and the various dimensions of this very complex problem. Thank you so very much. I'm sure the audience too would have got educated to an extent. Ma'am, do we have time for a question or we don't?
I don't think so, sir. Sorry, we want to stick to schedule. If we could do Q&A during the networking breaks, the tea breaks, and then the subsequent breaks.
Okay, all yours, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Can I have a round of applause, please, for that panel? May I please invite General Ojla back on stage, and may I please request Brigadier Chatterjee, S.K. Chatterjee, retired, the editor of BharatShakti.in, to present mementos to the keynote speaker and the panelists. Thank you. A memento to Dr. Manjeet Singh, Director, Economic Explosives Limited. To Mr. Ashish Kansal, Director, SMPP. To Air Marshal S.B. Deo, retired, founder and CMD of JSR Dynamics. To the moderator, Rear Admiral Sanjay Mishra, retired, armament specialist. And to, is that your former student, Brigadier Chatterjee? Were you his instructor, Lieutenant General Ojla's? Okay. He was a good student. Okay. To Lieutenant General Amardeep Singh Ojla, Master General of Sustenance. Can we have a quick group photograph, and then I'm going to announce the next knowledge session, please? In fact, let me do it by the time they're posing. So the next knowledge session is Make in India for the World. Why is a robust MSME sector essential for the success of Atmanirbharta or self-reliance? And thank you, gentlemen. In defense, are MSMEs in India ready to be part of the global supply chain? What policy interventions are needed to strengthen the MSME ecosystem? I would like to invite our panelists on stage one by one, after which I will invite the keynote speaker. May I please have Mr. Vivek Mishra, CEO, Rafe M Fiber, on stage. May I have Mr. Asim Yadav, founder and CEO, Aimtrex Technologies.